Hello, good day, and welcome back. So this is a bonus teaser video, right? Been having some questions about why use Angular, what is material, and so on. And so I figure why not do a set of videos that kind of quickly shows if you had to do just a certain type of application without Angular, and there are a number of other technologies and framework like Angular. Okay, so if you had to do it with do a decent application without any one of the single page application frameworks, how much more work you'd have to do and how it would get harder. And by the way, I'm going to do a very simple application. So even when I do this very simple application and you're going to see the benefits, you can imagine that if the application was more complex, something let's say like Gmail or the Twitter web application or anything like that, or if you want to write just a decent application for, I don't know, let's say a recipe book with multiple users logging in and chatting and so on, and have to keep track of comments and everything, whatever, right? So the more complex the application will be, it's going to be harder to write and more difficult, more time consuming if you don't use some framework. And so I'll try and show that because this is not in the typical vein of the tutorial videos, I'm not going to go as slow. So I'm going to pause, copy text and write text and so on that I've already written or whatever, so that I don't make the videos too long. Because the idea here is just a teaser to try to show you the benefits of what we're going to be eventually going to be doing. Don't worry, I'm going to teach Angular later on, and I'm going to go through it painstakingly, slow. There'll be multiple videos covering different aspects of Angular. It's probably going to be 10 videos in that series, okay, to cover Angular. So don't worry. This is just a teaser. You can sit back, just watch it and see how the application evolve, or feel free to pause it at any time and see what's going on. So let me just jump in and get started. Probably going to do this tutorial video, this teaser video in like 3 videos. One where we just use HTML and JavaScript without any kind of library, just will come with your browser. And then we're going to start show how using something like jQuery, which is not a JavaScript, like not really an application framework, but though it's kind of moving in that direction. Some of these things, it's really hard to draw a line between them, but you'll figure it out as we keep working, you'll see. And we'll use jQuery, and you're going to see how it's going to make things a little simpler. And then we're going to move to Angular to see how it makes things make you even more productive, okay? Make a lot of things easier. All right, so here we go. So I have a directory. I open up my brackets here, and I've turned on the Git plugin. I'm not going to use the command line. I'm just going to stay in here, and so let's click init, and that created a Git ignore file for me, and also initialize my thing. It says that, so it's clean. Okay, so let's start off, and we're going to create a I'm going to say I want a new file. So I want a new file, and let's call it index.html. Same thing as before. And let me just copy and paste some text here so it saves us some time. Like I said, I'm going to be doing that. And so it's like some HTML I've written before, and I hope you can see it. Let me see if I can zoom in. Is zooming in possible in this? Yeah. And I'm going to take this out so we can see. And so this is not very different from what I've shown if you start looking at the other video on HTML, right? There's this directive sort of at the top here, but don't worry about that. Ignore that for now. And same rule, we have this one HTML root tag. Within it, we have the head tag and the body tag, which I mentioned before. Inside the head tag, I have a title, and I say my to-do. Okay, and this is the application we're going to create. We're going to imagine that we want to create a web application which we're going to put on the web and make accessible on the web, and we're going to use it and share it with our friends and family, and maybe we're going to be able to put in to-do. It's not going to have anything like user login or anything, just a basic application with a form that allows you to type in, hey, this is what I want to do, and whether the task is finished or not, or it's in progress, and then some way to list it out. So let's see what this basic HTML look like right now. So I'll just click that, and so there we go. And so it's pretty ugly, but you could see that I have a form here, and I could type some stuff in. And again, I'm going a bit fast. I'm not explaining everything. So, but just quickly, it says a body, and there should be a h1 tag here. I don't have anything inside of it. Maybe I should put this inside the h1 tag. Let's cut that, put that inside the h1 tag, And let's remove the, and yeah, let's leave the background there, that's fine. And so I have that. Then I have this form, and here's my form, right? And it just encompasses, it says a label, description, which is this, input, which is this, and then this is showing up multiple times, okay. And then input, which is this, and then select which a section where you can just do a drop-down selection, okay? And you can select something is either not started, in progress, or completed, and that's how you do a selection, right? So if you look at some of the earlier, you did the basic video on HTML, you know, so you have your tags, and then you have attributes, and then attributes can have values. So there's the ID attributes that you can give to all tags. Every tag support ID attributes, and then tags support different other attributes, right? So for example, this option tag support value, but the select tag, for example, doesn't have necessarily have a value attribute, maybe. Input tag does have a value attribute. The select tag does have a value attribute too, but anyway, there's some tags, some attributes that not all tags, like button tag does have a, you can use like a value attribute, but not, you wouldn't define the button this way. There's another way of doing a button. You can use this input, and you could say type button, and then you could say value, and then that would be the name of that button. Or if you use input and you say value, well, then that would be what shows up in here. So it's kind of weird, but don't worry. Like I said, this is not tutorial ready HTML. I just kind of want to go over it really quick. This is our form. Then below the form, I have a div, and maybe I should put a break here, or horizontal rule, for example. And I'm going to separate the form where I'm going to be able to enter my to-dos and click save. So I'm going to type something and then click save. And then what I want is for it to show up in a list here, okay? And then each item, you know, is numbered with my to-do with the description. And then I have some action that I could take. So I could delete it to do, or I could click edit, which would populate it back up here. And then I can change, you know, like a progress, and then click save, or I could change the description and click save, okay? So that's the idea. Pretty simple application. The only thing I could probably do here is put, you know, border equals 1 to make that look a little better over there. Okay, so that's it. And then maybe I could do cell padding, and then yeah, equals, and then maybe 5 or something, 5px, just to make it look a little bit better than what's okay. All right, so that's it. Very, very simple application. Yeah, what I want, I can type, you know, buy a tray of eggs, or a dozen eggs, whatever, and then I want to say not started or in progress or whatever. Click this button, have it added to this list, and you know, and that's it. And then I could edit and delete things. Okay, so now we have that, and let me just go ahead, and now we have this, we're going to start working with. Let me commit it. So I could say, oh, this file is on track, but we're going to commit it. And so I'm going to say, it tell me, oh, these are the changes in the file. I'm going to say initial check-in. Say save, and so we have that. All right, close that, take that away. So how would we do this with just using, so we're using the tags from HTML, or we use JavaScript that's provided by our browser, which is coding, and we probably haven't talked about it yet. Well, let's do this. So one of the things you can do is put a script tag up here, and then you can put some JavaScript code in between here. This script tag also allows you to have your code live outside of the HTML in separate files. And it makes it easier that way, because then you can update the source, and then when the page is loaded, it just pulls down the code instead of always having to bundle the two. But for what we're going to do for now, at least, we're going to keep it separate. So this is one place you could put your script. And there are going to be times when you're going to want to put script tab above here. But let's just get in the habit of putting our script towards the end of the page, okay? And I will explain that another time while we're doing that. But basically, think of it as the browser downloads a page and it starts reading it from page one, keep going down, parsing it, and it just doing thing, parsing it, trying to understand what's in this page. And then it gets to the end and it finds the script. By the time that it finds the script, it had already read all of this. So if your script somehow reference something up here, then hey, the browser have already read it, okay? There's another reason for why that is the case. It's that when you start putting your code external, we've still put the links at the bottom here. If you have a lot of code to download, you don't want your browser spend time downloading code and trying to parse it and understand what the code is saying before it actually start downloading the presentation of things that users can see. It gives the appearance that your application or your website is slow. So what you want is the browser to go ahead, download these tags, start showing the user the page, and then the code that would dictate the functionality, bring it down after they see things. So at least if the user see something show up on the page, even if you're still downloading more things, then it give them the appearance that your page is loading or your application is loading pretty fast. So hence the other rationale for really putting that to the end. And if that's the only rationale that works for you is that it gives the appearance of your page loading fast or your app loading faster, put it at the bottom. And ignore the other one I told you before, but that's also true. But so, all right, so JavaScript, what we want is, let's do a simple example. Let's say we want that when we click this button, we want to see something happen. So this button have a method called onClick, as a method called onClick. So onClick, this says here, this is attribute called onClick, and what I'm going to do is whenever you click the button, whenever you click this button save, I'm going to take whatever action you put in here. So one of the actions you could take is call a method called alert, which is given to you by your web browser. So you're going to have to define it. And I'll put single quotes since I'm already using double quotes. I'm going to say hello, right? And so this, I expect this should work. When I click save button, I should see hello. And it does say hello, okay? So you said what is happening is I'm defining some code to be run here. This is just a statement. Well, just like I was calling this alert function that's provided by my browser, it can certainly call my function, which I'm gonna say, call it do something, right? And I'm not gonna pass anything to my function for now, so I'll just call my function, pass any parameters here. But where's this function do something defined? Well, let's define here. We say this script allows us to write some JavaScript code. So this is JavaScript code here that I can put in this attribute. And I could put more than one line actually. If I separate it, I can do that. But I'll go ahead and just do this. And I say function do something. Doesn't take any parameter. And I'm going to say alert. I am in my function. Right? And now I should expect to have the same result, except, I have some more text I can write as instead of trying to write things up there. And here I could have used double quotes, it wouldn't matter, right? Because no longer I have to worry with nesting. And that's another reason why you just want to call a function here, and then you have the flexibility of using different type of quotes and nesting them and so on. Whereas here, it will be a pain, we have double quotes, I have to nest stuff in it, I have to use single quotes. And if I want to do something more complex and use more double quotes, then yes. If I actually want to show actual double quotes, yeah, so it's harder. So here we go. And so, yep, I save it and I get the same result, right? So it's calling my thing. So the web browser read the page top to bottom, and it says, hey, I'm going to remember that when you click this button, because you said only when you do it on click, I should do something. Now there are other events. These are called, you're defining a handler for this event, right? And so there are other events other than on click. There are events like on move, on hover, you put your stuff over it, on exit, when you leave the thing. For input control, you got on blur. So after you, so here is focused, and then after you come out of it, it's blur, and then you could click when it's focused. So you can do different things. Like if you notice, this button gets a blue border when it's focused. So somebody wrote some stuff, the browser is doing that, so it knows when it attached the event handler, so it says, hey, when this text box is focused, I put a blue border around it so the user can see, and here, again, blue border or whatever, right? So, and then when I click down, you see a down event, make that blue, move over and click away. So yeah, so a number of events that these controllers can have, even things that you don't think are can have events, like even just my H1 tag here can have an event like on hover or something like that, or even on click. I can say, I can put the on click event. So let's say if you click on that, so I say on click event equals, do something. I'll call the same function. Oh, I didn't have any highlights, so do something. And so now, let's hope this updated. And there you go. When I click over there, you see this calls the function. And if I click here, which I am, hopefully you can hear, nothing happens, okay? And so a lot of things can have this some of these events, okay? All right. Now that we know we can call a function, so we can certainly call this function when we click it. How do we get what's in here? So let's just keep some data in here so we don't have to retype it. So I'm gonna leave placeholder, but I'm gonna put value, and I'm gonna say value is equal to some task that needs doing, right? I know this doesn't make much sense. And so there it shows up. So I have some data in there, so I don't have to worry about it. And so this is already set to do the first one. So how do I get that? Now, if I want to be able to encode, read, or change this element, right, or this tag, the properties of this tag, I need to be able to get a handle of it in code. So how do I get a handle of it? Remember, I could have multiple input tags, and I could have several that have type text. How do I get a handle of it? That's where this ID comes in. This ID is a unique value. Remember what I told you before, if you look at the basic HTML, is that all tags can have an ID and they must be unique for that document, right? Because the web browser loads one document at a time, HTML document at a time. So for that document, each tag can have a unique ID. If you don't provide one, the web browser provides one, but of course you don't know what that is, so you can't get back and handle the thing really. Yes and no, you'll find with jQuery or even without jQuery, there are ways to get it, but it just makes it easy if you can know. So here I call this one description, and I call the handle basically ID for this one progress, so I can get a handle of it. So how is that? Just like you have this, how do I do that? Just like you have this alert function that's being provided by your browser, there are few others, and think of them as global variables or functions that are provided by your web browser. And one of them is called document. And so on that document object, there are some other functions that you can call. And one of them is called get element by ID, or by name or tag name, as you can see there. So we want to get it by ID. And the one we want to get is description, right? So it's saying get that element, this element here by ID, get a reference to it. And once you've looked it up, so here's the element. Let's store it in var. That is declare a variable to hold something, and I could call the description element is equals to that. But how do I get the value of it? This just represents the element or the runtime representation of this, which would have a way for you to get all the attributes defined on it, get the value and stuff. But the actual value is var description. The description is equals to description element that value, right? And I'll show you how you can figure these things out. You can go to W3C School, we talked about before, .com, and you can look up, HTML reference, and then you can go look up the different tags, or you can even do JavaScript or look up JavaScript and see, what attributes are supported, how you navigate it, right? So I don't want to waste time here, but just know that it's there. All right, so there we go. And so let's see if we can actually use that now. We can say alert test. Okay, let's say test, and then we can append whatever this description value was. And now let's see if when we click save, it shows that, yes. So it says, oh, I'm in the function, so it didn't update. So let's see now. Okay, there we go, right? It updates after I click again. So I just demonstrated that I can get the value here. And I can get the value for, the other thing too, right? I can say var progress, the progress value is equals to document that get element by ID progress, and then let's just get the value while we're here, while we have this object. So what we return is, instead of saving it in two variables like this, we just saved in one variable. And I could have done the same thing here, saving myself some type in another variable by just doing that value and then removing this. Okay, so just shortcutting. And you have to do what makes sense. If I wanted to, so right now I'm just interested in the value, so I can do that. But if I actually wanted to be able to do more with the element, I would actually want to store it the way I did before, so I can get the value, change it, do other things. But right now I'm just trying to get the value of it, right? And so, well, right now, for now, actually, I'm going to eventually need to change something. So let's just go back to what we did before here. So var the description is equal to description element that value. All right, and I should do the progress element here is this, and the value is progress. Progress is equal to progress element that value. All right, and if I do alert test, for example, and then plus progress, I should be able to see read the progress here, and it didn't save yet. Okay, 0, and then if I change this, it should be 2 now, and so there it is, it's 2. So demonstrate that I can read these two values. Okay, so now I can read them. How do I display them, right? I mean, how do I get them to be displayed here? I want to build this table, and if you look up the table, I only have one row, but for each one that I had, I'm going to want to repeat this thing. So I have to do this programmatically, of course, because right now it's static. I've just typed it and that's it. It can't change, but that was an example. So I'll need somewhere to store all my to-dos. So let's do that. Let's say we have a variable. Come on. Why is it not behaving? Var, let's call it list of to-dos, I guess, or to-dos is equals to, and this is how you create a list in Java, or array, for example, array. How you create an array, right? And so an array can contain a number of things. And so what we can do is set to-do dash that push to push something on it, or we could, to do that length to get the length of it, whatever, right? So when we click this button, we'll change this now from do something to save to do, and then I'll go up here and change it to save to do, and I'm gonna remove it from my P1. Oh, I already removed it. Okay, and so now what we can do is we can say to-dos that push, push onto this thing, an object that represents the to-do, right? So this is a to-do. So let's push it onto the list or add it to the list. Well, what does that to-do look like? That to-do is actually an object in Java. And so we can create object in Java by just doing or open and close curly braces. And then their key value pairs, right? So the key here is the description is the key, and then the value is actually the description that we got just now, right? We save. Or I can just, to make things a little bit so it doesn't twist your head too much, let's do it this way, because I'm using progress too many places, or the name. So yeah, and then progress, the key gets the value progress element that value. Does that make sense now? So whatever is stored in the description element to the progress element, I want to evaluate the value and then store them as the value for this object to do. Because in JavaScript, which we haven't covered yet, you can create an object, you can create an array with these two square brackets, that's an empty array. You can certainly create an empty object. So empty object is equals like this, there's nothing in there. But I could also put something inside after I create it. I could say em that test equals to some value, like maybe age, for example, is equals to 25. And now I can say my object has this property called age with the value 25. But I can get this, what I'm doing in 2 lines, I could do it in 1 line by just saying age colon 25. Okay, and that is exactly what I'm doing here. I'm just defining the property and giving it a value, just so the value is being evaluated from here. And so now that I have this object, I can just push it onto the to-do, my to-do list. And then now after I've pushed it on my to-do list, I can, of course, call some function to repopulate this guy now, right? Update this. So I can say call a function. All right, let's leave that for the other video. I don't want this to go too long. I think it's already too long. So let's continue in the next video. And what we're going to do is after we've saved the to-do, we'll write a function that goes in and recreate this list. So every time we hit save here, it adds update this list and then clears out this field so that you can create more objects, right? And then we'll continue and see how we can delete or edit. But you get the idea of how much work we're trying to do, right? To get those properties, we have to look them up, the value for those elements, we have to look them up this way and so on. All right, we're not going to go too far down the road. We just kind of get the idea going, and then we'll start converting it and show you can use jQuery to make things simple and then use Angular to make it even simpler. All right. Take care, thanks, and see you in the next teaser video for this, and I also see you in the other videos for the, whatever current path is for the tutorial on HTML programming. All right, take care.